everybody, Big Beardy back again with another video, and today we're talking about 3 rules that you should never break regarding your van. Now these are very important, but before we get started, if you enjoy my content, you like my videos, smash that subscribe button. Also hit that little bell icon so when my videos drop you know that they are out there. Anyway, let's get into the video. 3 rules you should never break regarding your van, things you should always pay attention to and be very aware of when you're out on the road driving around. So number 1, very important rule, weight limits. Knowing your weight limits, knowing how much you can carry, never go over your weight limit. And the reason is, it's your responsibility. Okay? So, it's not, you're the one that's going to get in trouble. You're the one that's going to take the fine. You're the one that's going to take your points on the license. You're the one that might end up going to court. It's your responsibility. It's not the bloke who loaded you. It's not the shipper who sent you the thing and said, oh, it's only a ton, it'll be fine. It's not the company you pick up from or drop off to. It's your responsibility to know how heavy your van is. If you get pulled by the police and they put you on a weighbridge, it will come down to you at the end of the day. Soon as you start driving that van, the weight, the load that's inside it, the weight, whatever you're carrying is your responsibility. So, how do you figure out how big your van is? Now, my videos are all up to sort of Luton size. I talk about the CX, I talk about being a courier. I don't really talk about stuff over 3.5 tons, so I'm not going to today. There's other people that do that, and obviously I don't know enough about that side of the industry that heavier than 3.5 ton for me to start stepping on toes and start talking about stuff I don't know about. Maybe one day, but not today. Other people can do that. So we're talking up to 3.5 tons, Luton and below. Anything you can drive on a normal bog standard driving license. So, and I know there's some Lutons that are a bit different, but we're not talking about that. So, 3.5 tons is your limit. Okay? If you go over 3.5 tons, you're screwed. If you go under 3.5 tons, you're fine. How do you find out how heavy your van is? It's pretty simple. There's a very easy way. Now, usually when you buy your van, especially if you buy from a dealer, they'll give you all the specs of how heavy the van is, but that isn't how it works, unfortunately, because that doesn't take into consideration your weight, the weight of the fuel you've got on board, all your equipment, you know, your sack barra and your lunch and your travel bag and all the stuff you stick under the seat and any tools you might have on board. It doesn't take into account any of that. So the easiest, simplest, best way to figure out how much you weigh and how much you can carry is fill your van up. Have a big breakfast. Don't go to the toilet. Fill it. Go to the fuel station before. Fill it full of fuel. Put everything in the van you would normally carry. Then drive yourself to a weighbridge and they will tell you exactly how heavy you are. Take that number, take it away from 3.5 tons, and that is how much you can carry. It's pretty simple. Simple maths. I tend to have a rule where I don't like going over a ton. I can carry about 1.2. That's sort of my weight. But I don't like going that heavy for a couple of reasons. Drinks fuel. It's no good for your springs. On the back of your van, no springs. They can only take so much. I've even thought about double springing my van to make it a little bit, carry the weight better. But that does affect the drive a little bit. So, you know, I don't like going over a ton. I had one job where I nearly said, take it off. I'm not taking it. And here's the thing. If you're concerned, if you think it's too heavy and they can't give you an exact weight when they're loading you, don't be afraid to say, no, it's too heavy, take it off. It's your license at the end of the day. If that happens, phone the shipper and tell them, listen, it's too heavy. It's not as heavy as you thought it was. A lot of times shippers will tell you if it's a heavy load. They'll go, oh, it's it's a ton or it's 800 kilograms or whatever. But sometimes they don't. And I had this one job, they were putting I-beams on the back of the van, you know, the big structural I-beams, and they were loading 2, and they loaded both of them, and the van sank way down, and I almost said, take it off, but because of the company I was picking up from, they had to, and it was going to a site where they needed to know the weight of the beams. Lucky for me, they had the exact weight, and it came in at like 1.15 or something. So I was like, okay, if that's the exact weight, and, you know, they reassured me they had them weighed, so I was like, it's under my weight limit. That's fine. I will take it. But if you're not sure, tell them to take it off. If it looks way too heavy, your van sinks down to the floor and you're riding your tyres, don't be afraid to tell them to take off. Or at least if it looks heavy, a lot of time I say, do you know how heavy that is? And the people generally know how heavy the stuff is that's getting on your van because they deal with it every day. So don't be afraid to ask if you don't already know. But If you go over that and you get pulled over by the police and you're over 3.5 tons, it's your responsibility and you will get stuck for it. So that's rule number 1. Make sure you don't go overweight. Rule number 2, just as important, know how big your goddamn van is. It's not difficult. You know, you will get the specs of the exterior and interior from when you buy from a dealer. Sometimes, obviously, if you're not buying from a dealer, you might not know. It's a very simple way of checking how big your van is. I wonder if I've got one in here. I usually carry one. Yeah, I do. Bear with me. I bought this device. It's very technical, right? But it's pretty cheap, and it will tell you exactly how big your van is. It's called a tape measure. Pretty fucking simple. Get the tape measure out, measure the fucking thing. It's not difficult. So make sure you know your external and your internal and write them on a piece of paper. Stick them in your van. Simple. I often get asked how big, you know, how big's your interior size, so they know how many pallets you can put on. I know it off by heart now. One thing people do forget to do though is measure your door width. Amount of times I've been at a job and a bloke's like, it can take X amount interiorly, and they're trying to loan it. Well, it doesn't fit. Well, it should, because it's like, yeah, but how? You've got that much on the side of your door, so you can only fit what can fit in the door. Doesn't matter how big the interior is. If the interior is a fucking mile wide, but the door's that big, it can only fit something that big. That's how it works. So measure your door, measure your internal length, measure your external length, measure your height. Have both. Because you might come up to a junction, especially in London, they have those little poles. Most vans can fit through. I think they're the width for those little width restrictions are like 2.1 meters, and most vans are about 2 or something like that. It's a tight squeeze. It really is. Every time I go through, I have squeaky bum time. But make sure you know the width of your van. Make sure you know the height. You know, there's one thing not being able to get into your local McDonald's because there's a height restriction. There's another thing going into a bridge and smacking it because you're taller than you think you are. Get those measurements. It's very simple, but it's very important, especially when bidding on jobs. If a job comes up and it says it needs let's say a long wheelbase, you're a long wheelbase, fantastic, but you're 3.6 meters, still a long wheelbase, and their job is 4 meters long. Still a long wheelbase, same vans, but unfortunately not all vans are 4 meters long. You know, so get those measurements. Really important. Okay, it will save you. When you're driving down the road and you come up to a width restriction, you're just like, oh, it says it's that, but I don't know if I'm small enough. If you know the fucking width of your van, you can get through or you can't. Simple. Right, that's the second rule. Third rule, really important rule, probably the most important rule. Actually, they're probably all as important as each other, but take care of your fucking van. Maintenance. If you have a light out, change it the same day you notice you've got the fucking light out. Don't wait 3 weeks, because you'll get pulled over or you'll have an accident. If one of your tyres looks like it's fucked, change it that day. Or, you know, if it's 7 o'clock at night, next morning. But you know what I'm saying? Look after your van. If you see an issue, fix it, because it will come back to bite you in the arse. If you notice a weird clicking sound, don't go, oh, it'll be all right, because one day you'll break down with a load on board, you'll piss off your shipper, you won't get another job off them, you'll be stuck on a motorway in the middle somewhere, you'll have to get the van recovered, then you'll have to pay for the repair, and it'll cost you a fucking fortune. Sort out the problems as they come. Do not wait for them to turn into something worse. Also, you might have a problem with the van. It might be a simple fix, but because you don't get it fixed, it fucks something else, and then it becomes a more difficult fix. Look after your van. It's your most important tool. Without your van, what are you going to do? Carry the fucking stuff? I don't think so. So look after her, and she will look after you. I know it's a pain in the ass forking out, and we do seem to fork out an awful lot of money to keep ourselves on the road. But if you're not on the road, you're not making any money. So look after your van. It's shocking to me. I hear horror stories all the time. As you can imagine, people tell me stuff just because I've got the YouTube channel and stuff like that, and I'm on my Discord and people talk to me through the Discord. Some of the stories I hear, just, I can't believe. So I heard someone the other day, he got pulled over, he was in a Luton, and he was carrying 4.3 tons. He, you know, combined. They put him on a weighbridge, 4.3 tons. He's nearly a ton overweight. How that thing was even moving, you know, boggles me. I've heard people tell me that they've been to places where they're checking vans and half the vans they check don't have insurance or the tyres are fucked. So they get taken off the road. Look after your tyres. I know they're a pain in the ass. I know they cost money. But having a good set on your tyres on your van, it's better fuel economy. You're not going to get pulled. You know, it's a better ride. Just look after your van. I can't stress this enough. I have been to places that, like, you look at my van right now, I've got a little scratch down the side where, it got scratched, and my back door's got a dent in it because of a dodgy pole I hit. But that's all cosmetic. I know it doesn't look fantastic, and I need to get those things changed, but a dent in your panel work is not the same as your tyres being fucked, you know? You see a lot of vans, and they do have your vans get dinged. Let's be honest, okay? They do get dinged. But when you see vans turn up and they're blatantly overweight, or a van turns up to a yard and one of the tyres, it's basically a F1 slick. It's like, come on, fellas. Look after your vans. Fork out the money and look after them. Right, they're the 3 rules. They're the 3 big rules of looking after your van, or making sure, rules around the van itself. I'm going to throw in one for free. Do a morning check every morning. When you get up, before you leave the house, just whip round it. Make sure there isn't a puncture. Make sure the lights are all working. There's no leaks and anything. Because that's prevention. Prevention is better than cure. Okay? Cure is a pain in the ass. Prevention, it's an annoyance. If you've got to walk around your van every morning, because if you see that leak, you can solve that problem there and there. If you see one of your tyres looks flat, a little bit flat, you can go and pump it up, and if it starts getting flat to the end of the day, you've got an issue, get it fixed. Better that than being on the fucking M1 and you pull over and you're completely tyres done. Okay? So do a little walk around your van, prevent any issues. Right, they're my 3 rules. That's been the video. You've been awesome. I've been the Big Beardy One, and be safe out there and have a great day.